From Lamentations chapter 3, we hear these familiar words. The steadfast love of the Lord never ceases. God's mercies never come to an end. They are new every morning. Great is your faithfulness. Welcome to Floradale Mennonite Church. Today, all those gathered here in person and joining us online, it's good to be together. Our service today is combined with our annual church meeting, and it will adjourn at 12:30, followed by a potluck, and we invite you to please stay and join us for that. The scripture theme for our service this morning is Luke 15, searching and finding. A lost sheep found by a faithful shepherd. A silver coin searched for diligently and discovered. A beloved child returning home to loving arms. Great rejoicing over what was lost and found. Unconditional, limitless love from a good and gracious God who never leaves or forsakes us, no matter what we've done. Thanks be to God. God's steadfast love endures forever. As we look ahead to our week as a church, I invite you to look at the online calendar, as many wonderful activities are happening this week that you don't want to miss. On Tuesday morning at 8:30 is a ladies' breakfast in Elmira at the Smoking Q restaurant. And the new church council meets in the evening at 6:30 on Tuesday. Parents and Tots happens on Wednesday morning at 9:30 in the gym. And then the Young Women's Bible Study is online at 8. Thursday evening at 6 is Kids Connect here at our church, followed by an online men's Bible study at 8:30. And Friday is a guys' night out at Bonnie Lou's at 6. And if you haven't registered for that and would like to attend, you can do that today. Richard Bauman, I believe, is in the foyer. Richard, you have an announcement this morning. Could you please come up?
This is short notice, but I just want to make you aware there's papers on the table out where I've been signing up for where you could sign up for the men's meal. But there is a meeting of a potential hospice being built in the Elora Fergus area. The hospice is a part of our society that has become very comforting to families for people who are in their last days of life. And there is need for more. And if you are interested in attending a meeting tomorrow night at the Bethel Mennonite Church at 7:30, and there's flyers out there. And if you need more information, you can talk to myself or Dale Martin. Thank you.
Thanks, Richard. On a pastoral care note, I just want to update you on Wanda Kale. We invite your prayers to continue for Wanda as she recovers at home from minor back surgery that she had on Friday. And she wanted me to share that she's feeling good about it and is positive about her recovery. So please keep Wanda and Lester in your prayers. And now I invite us to read our call to worship, our invitation to worship together. I believe the words are on the screen. Let's take a deep breath. We're here. We're coming into God's presence together as a church family. Let's focus on that. As we worship, Christ collides with our priorities. We gather and pause for the important business of our lives. Jesus reveals the depth of God's purposes. For your reign, O God, help us celebrate being found as we worship you.
I invite you to stand up to sing "The Love of God is Greater Far Than Tongue or Pen Can Ever Tell."
Greater far than tongue or pen can ever tell.
and strong, and praise will flood the whole ground, and saints and angels song. O love of God, how rich and pure, how measureless and strong, it shall forevermore endure. The saints and angels song. Would we could make the ocean clear, and burn the skies of Martian rain, where every song on earth would queer, and every one must strive by train to learn the love of God above, who drink the ocean dry, nor could the scroll contain the whole, but stretched from sky to sky. O love of God, how rich and pure, how measureless and strong, it shall forevermore endure. The saints and angels song.
I invite us to share in a confession this morning. Loving and merciful God, we confess that we have sinned against you. We have not loved you with all our thoughts, words, and actions. We have not fully accepted your love for us. We have not loved our neighbors as ourselves. We repent before each other and before you, our loving God. Please help us open our hearts to your love. Help us bring our priorities in line with yours, so we may better share your peace in your world, rejoicing in your name. Amen. Now hear these words of assurance. God tells us that we are created in God's image. God created us for a relationship with God and with each other. And in this we know that God will never break our relationship. God's steadfast love endures forever. Amen.
I invite you to stand up to sing a beautiful spring song, number 420, God of the Bible. But before we sing, say hello to the people around you. Give it over.
All kinds of people came to listen to Jesus. Some were people who were not following the laws of Moses or were causing harm to other people. Some religious leaders did not like this. They grumbled and said, "This man, Jesus, welcomes sinners and eats with them." Jesus answered the two leaders with two stories. Imagine a shepherd who has 100 sheep. What if one of them got lost? The shepherd will leave the other sheep and hunt until the lost sheep is found. When the shepherd finds the lost sheep, he will carry it home, rejoicing. When he gets home, he will call out to friends and neighbors, saying, "Rejoice with me, for I have found my sheep that was lost." It's like that when someone turns from wrong, there is more joy in heaven because of one person who is sorry for the mistakes he or she has done. Then over 99 people who are sure they haven't done anything wrong. Or think about a woman who has 10 precious coins. If she loses one of them, she will light her lamp and sweep the whole house. She will search carefully in every corner until she finds the coin. Then she will call to her friends and neighbors, "Celebrate with me, for I have found my coin that I lost." This is the way God's angels celebrate when someone turns from doing wrong to following God's ways.
The children can go to their activities now, and we're going to be singing "God Lights a Lamp" as they leave. So there's fun things for you kids, so enjoy, and thank you to all the helpers.
So let's stand up. We'll be sitting for a while today. Let's stand up to sing "God Lights a Lamp." There are 3 stories in Luke 15, as we just heard, read to us from Everly. And this song focuses on that middle story of the homemaker, the housewife, who finds the precious coin.
She searches everywhere. And this is the third story in those 3 stories from Luke chapter 15. There was a man who had 2 sons. The younger son said, "Father, give me my share of the property that will belong to me." And so he divided his property between them. A few days later, the younger son packed up all his belongings and went off to another country where he wasted his money on wild living. After he had spent it all, a severe famine overcame the whole country, and he began to be in need. So he went and hired himself out to one of the local farmers, who sent him out to his field to feed his pigs. He would have gladly filled himself on the pods the pigs were eating, and no one gave him anything to eat. When he came to himself, he said, "How many of my father's hired hands have bread and enough to spare, and here I am starving to death? I'll go to my father and say, 'Father, I've sinned against heaven and before you. I'm no longer worthy to be called your son. Treat me as one of your hired hands.' So he set off and went to his father. But while he was still a long way off, the father saw him and was filled with compassion for him. He ran up to him, threw his arms around him, and he kissed him. The son said, 'Father, I've sinned against heaven and before you. I'm no longer worthy to be called your son.' But the father said to his slaves, 'Quick, bring my robe, my best one, and put it on him. Oh, and bring a ring for his fingers and sandals for his feet. Oh, and let's kill the fatted calf and have a feast to celebrate this day, because this son of mine was dead and he's alive again. He's lost and he's been found.' And they began to celebrate. The older brother, meanwhile, was out in the field. And when he came close to the house, he heard music and dancing. He called one of the slaves over and asked him what was going on, and he said simply, 'Your brother's come home. Your father's killed the fatted calf. He has him back, safe and sound.' When the brother heard this, he became angry and refused to go into the house. The father came out and pleaded with him, but he refused. He said, 'Listen, I worked like a slave for you all these years. I've never once disobeyed your orders, and you've never given me so much as a young goat to celebrate with my friends, but this son of yours comes home after squandering all your property on prostitutes, and you kill the fatted calf for him. Oh!' 'My son,' said the father, 'you're always here with me, and everything I have is yours. But we had to eat and celebrate because this brother of yours was dead, and he's alive again. He's lost, and he's been found.'" Do you ever pay attention to what you notice and don't notice? Do you ever track what you see and what you don't see? Do you ever notice what you notice when somebody comes into the room, what you notice about what you see about them that is different? Do you ever notice how the squeaky wheel gets the grease? There's a bearing issue maybe, and it gets the attention. Do you ever notice what gets the attention and what doesn't get the attention? Do you ever notice the people that you give attention to and those you don't give attention to? Do you ever notice, if you've watched The Lord of the Rings, how like Sauron's eye was always drawn to the Ring of Power, where your attention and your gaze go? Our story today comes because the religious leaders said to Jesus, "He welcomes sinners and he eats with them." And he tells them 3 stories. About a man who leaves 99 sheep, makes no sense. All of you, I'm leaving to go find the one. until he finds it, and when he finds it, he throws a party. A woman who loses 10 silver coins and has 10 silver coins and loses one of them, and when she finds it, she too throws a big celebration for the finding of the coin in her house. And the last one, a man who has 2 sons. And one of them, to be fair, is a problem. He's a problem child. Maybe he was never easy to begin with. Maybe he was bucking the family rules from the day he was born. Perhaps he's always been a bit of an issue, and he was a bit difficult to deal with. He was the one that the parents got on their knees for at night and prayed for, and they're not sure where their prayers went, because nothing really seemed to change. He was a bit of a rebellious guy. He was an issue. He was a problem. He is where your attention drew in the family, and the other brother you didn't really even notice. There's a guy named Brandon who does a site called Humans of New York, and he interviews people about their experience of living in New York, and he tells their story and posts the blog, and it's amazing, and I've shared this before, but he was walking along the street once in New York City, and he ran into a Hasidic Jewish family, and he said to them, "What are your hopes for your children?" And their hopes were that they respect their elders and they maintain our traditions. And probably there's nothing that would have captured the heart of the parents of this prodigal son story, and we call it the prodigal son, than this, that their children will respect their elders and maintain our traditions, and they have a son who does none of that. He does something that was unheard of, unspeakable, never spoken of, didn't even have a paradigm for it in the family system. He asks his dad for his inheritance that he would receive after the parents have died. And it was an insult tantamount to saying to your parents, "Can you please die early?" We wouldn't do it in our culture necessarily, and it would be insulting for sure, depending on the family system, for sure. But in that family, in that world, it was unheard of. And the only thing more surprising is that the dad actually does it. He actually divides the property between his 2 children. Family sweat and labor that they had built a business on for years, on the sweat of their brow, is now being divided up because the younger son wants some cash. And their worst nightmares have come true. Have any of those prayers on their knees actually made any difference? A few days, no less later, he asks for the money and he takes it and he goes to another country where he spends it on wild living. The older brother says it's prostitutes, we don't know, but it's a story. And worse than that, once in every generation in the first century, there was a famine that went through. And sure enough, a famine hits. This guy has no money. He spent it all on parties, and he's broke, and he's hungry. He went and hired himself out to some local folks, who sent him out to his field to feed their pigs. In our world, like, you got a good job, you're a farmer. These are Jewish people, and pigs are unclean animals. They would have been like, how much lower can you go? He's eating the carob pods from the field. These are not nutritious. They don't provide any nourishment. And in that moment, he has an awakening of some sort. Maybe it's out of desperation. Perhaps it's simply born out of necessity. You can't tell when you tell the story if he's being sincere. Is it, "I will go to my father and say," or is it, "I will go to my father"? Like, you don't know. Has he converted yet? Has there been a shift in his attitude? We don't know. But he takes his memorized speech, he packs up, and heads for home. He's still way out in the field, and the father sees him. And he does something unheard of in that culture. It was shameful for men. He picks up a skirt and runs towards his son before the son has even given the memorized speech. And he doesn't get through his speech about no longer worthy to be called your son. And the father quickly summons the troops. He orders them to bring a robe, so he's reinstated as a child, a ring that he's honored, and sandals that he's not a slave. He's a part of the family. The best work on this stuff says that the reason he did it so quickly, he says quick, is because the villagers would have, in that culture, stoned the child to death for the shame that he has brought on this family. But not this dad. This dad is entirely different. Like Sauron's gaze in Lord of the Rings, we've always focused on this child, the wayward one, the problem child, and that's what family systems do. We have black sheep, children who can do no right, and blessed children who can do no wrong. And in this system, it's perfect. The son can do no right, he's done no right, and the older brother, we don't even think about him. We call it the prodigal son story. We don't call it the story of the older brother, but I've got some news for you this morning that I just want you to pay attention to very quickly, and that is Jesus is speaking to older brothers. And if we want to get the depth out of this story, let's pay attention to the guy we don't even pay attention to, the one out in the field. He too brings great insult onto his dad. We don't know that until we do our homework. He's out in the field and he hears music and dancing. Dad has pulled out all the stops. You normally killed a fatted calf only when you were going to have a wedding celebration. And the delinquent has come home after giving a memorized speech, and all of the stops have been pulled out. And the older brother, the perfect child, the one who can do no wrong, the blessed child, loses it. He completely blows a gasket. He has a job to do right now, to be clear. As the oldest brother, he's supposed to welcome the guests and be a host and make sure everybody's happy and keep the place running smoothly. And he does something unthinkable. He's so angry about what he sees, he has a shouting match with his dad. Well, we can't tell voice tone. You can guess, as I did, that I have worked like a slave for you all these years. That is rich. We know we're the older brother when we're framing things around our own losses all the time. We're framing things around our own losses. You were an honored child, a blessed child in this home, who was given all of this. And as the dad said, everything I had was yours, and I've worked like a slave for you all these years. Life is always good until we meet somebody who we think has it better, don't we? It's always so wonderful until we meet somebody who seems to tip the scales around grace or generosity, and all of a sudden our perfect life is miserable. He's grumpy about grace. So we're grumpy about grace. We hate the fact that somebody gets a free ride. I heard that once from somebody. I don't know why they're getting something free. It was somebody cutting my hair many years ago. It makes me not want to work. They were cutting my hair, so I didn't say much. But I wanted to say, you're grumpy because somebody's getting something free makes you not want to work? How does that work exactly? It was in the middle of COVID. We're grumpy about grace. There's a massively wonderful story that Jesus tells in Luke 7. He goes to the house of Simon the Pharisee, not Simon Peter, the disciple, Simon the Pharisee, and it's a meal on the Sabbath. And if you want to dress in your formal wear, the Sabbath at the Pharisee's house is the day you do it. Everything has to be perfect, and he's probably being tested by the Pharisees to see if he's for real. And wouldn't you know it, a woman comes in and lets down her hair and starts weeping in front of Jesus and crying and bathing Jesus' feet with her tears and drying them with her hair. It's unspeakable to imagine in the first century what that would have been like. When you pull down your hair as a woman in public, you were making a statement about your lifestyle that was not common, and it was unheard of in that world. And Jesus, because he's Jesus, remains an even keel and says to the host, listen, I entered your house and you didn't offer me any water for my feet. This woman's bathed my feet with her tears and dried them with her hair. You didn't offer me a kiss. She's not ceased kissing my feet since when I entered. You didn't anoint my head with oil. She's anointed my feet with ointment. And then he says the killer line. Hence her sins, which are many, are forgiven. She has shown great love. And then, wait for it. For the one to whom little is forgiven loves little. Did you catch that? The one to whom little is forgiven loves little. See, the problem, sisters and brothers, is that our perfect love that we've received, this life where we've never broken the rules and never strayed outside the fence, is a gift in its own way. The psalmist says, the boundary lines have fallen for me in a good place. I have a wonderful heritage, and it's a gift. But the curse, the lack of gift, is that we get grumpy about grace, and we're resentful about free rides and those who receive grace. We're entitled in our faith, and we look down on those who have a different journey. We're insiders, and we look our noses down on the outsiders. We have a history here, and we look around down on those who don't have a history here. We're grumpy about it because the blessings that we have give us entitlement, and we get grumpy about that. You see, Jesus was dealing with a group of older brothers that were listening. They couldn't stand that Jesus loved those on the margins and welcomed them in love. They couldn't deal with it. They had no paradigm for it. They couldn't fact that he extended love to the least of these. How dare you spend time with those who don't respect our elders and maintain our traditions? They don't respect our elders and they don't retain our traditions. We're so focused on the wayward. See, that's the problem. We can't see our part in the issue. It's not us, it's you. In Ephesians 2, verse 8 and 9, it says, "For it is by grace you have been saved. It is not your own doing. It is the gift of God." And that makes the grace of God and the initiative of Jesus a level playing field. We all have equal access to the grace of Jesus in our life. And the older brother needs it as much as the younger brother. But you see, the grace of God actually extends as much to the older brother as to the younger, because the dad pleads with the son and invites him to look at the inheritance he's already received, and that he's always there with him, and to see the benefit and the blessing and the purpose in his history. Same as he does for the younger son, whom he reinstates into the family without even testing fully that the son is for real yet. Really? Are you sure? This is the love of God standing at the edge of the driveway for you and for me, and doing the shameful thing and picking up the skirts and running in a culture where it was shameful, and hugging the child and reinstating that child before the speech is even finished out of love. There's a verse in Scripture that says, "Do not despise the day of small beginnings." And the small beginnings have not been despised here. This God wants to take initiative. See, the problem is, if we think we're found and we have our inheritance, all manner of judgment and condemnation creeps into our lives when we meet those who we think haven't or don't. So I'm going to invite you this morning, as we enter into our annual meeting, to think about the grace of God poured out for you. I'm going to guess, not assume, that you, like me, are an older child. We've been given much. We assume much, but in that assumption, our love can run cold. Because the one to whom little is forgiven, Jesus said. Is that your case? Is it mine? What does the Holy Spirit want to tell you this morning about being a child of privilege and entitlement? And what would it mean for Floradale Mennonite Church if we dropped some of those assumptions? Let's pray together. God, we thank you for grace, which is not merited. It is given. It was given, of course, to the one who was so wayward and didn't respect his elders or maintain the traditions. But wouldn't you know it, it was there for the older brother too, who did respect the traditions, but was deeply resentful about it. God, shine the light in our hearts about what this means in our discipleship of following you. What does it mean to follow you when we've been given much? Forgive us when we draw circles that keep others out, when we draw a history that keeps others out, and we define faithfulness around our obedience rather than a reliance on your grace. So guide us, we pray, as we seek to be faithful. If we're younger children, you welcome us with open arms. And if we're older children, you welcome us too, and plead with us to enter into the joy of your love through Jesus. Amen.
Let's stand to sing softly and tenderly, Jesus is calling.
So, welcome to our annual business meeting. We have a few people leaving. Don't leave because you're not a member. Okay. Yes, welcome everybody in person and online. We just need a quorum of 36 people to have the meeting. So Heather, we have a whole lot more than that. How many people signed in?
We have 79 members signed in
And 3 proxies. Okay, 79 members and 3 proxies. So we have lots of people to have a meeting. So last year, for the first time, we did this experiment of moving directly from the worship service into the annual business meeting, and it worked really well. So we're going to try to keep it short and interesting. There's basically, when you get down to it, only 2 main things you do at an annual business meeting. One is you talk numbers, you do the finances, talk about last year's actual results, and then pass a budget for the next year. And then the other thing you do is you appoint all of the volunteers that serve on the various committees of the church. I actually, Dan, added it up. There's 114 positions that need to be filled. Now, some people do more than one, but 114 different positions in the church, approximately. So we will get right into the meeting. I'll just mention one thing. It's an annoying rule of the government of the province of Ontario, and that is that at an annual business meeting, only members can vote. But we here at Floradale Mennonite Church feel that everyone should participate. So feel free to give your suggestions, your comments. People that are voting have been given like members have been given a voter card. But I'm even okay with, if you're not a member, put up your hand to vote to show your support as well. We just won't count the vote. But in the 6 years that I've been church council chair, I don't ever remember a time when we've actually had to count a vote. We basically agree on things at Floradale, typically. Who knows? Maybe today we will actually have a contentious issue, but I don't think we will. So the other thing, it's a difficult job that Heather has taking minutes with such a large group. So if you don't mind, if you're making a motion or seconding a motion, just say your name. You know, you can, I think that would really help. So Yvonne, if you're making a motion, you say, it's Yvonne. And then Heather can quickly put that in the minutes. So let's proceed then. Let's see. With my clicker. See if we can get to the, well, that didn't work. Oh, there we are. I just have to be patient. So that's the agenda for our meeting, and we'll just move through that. So I think, since I can't read the agenda up there, I will just flip to it. It's on pages 3 and 4. And does everyone have a package if you want it? I think there were extra ones back there, were there? There's still a few. Yeah, okay, so if you want to just go to the back there and grab one of the last few agendas, that would be great. So the first motion is to accept the agenda. So you see the agenda there, and this is again one of these formalities, so we need someone to make a motion to accept the agenda. Heather, and a seconder for that. Dan Bender, and all in favor of that. And so that motion is passed, and we have the approved agenda. And then the minutes of last year's meeting are on pages 5 through 10 of the package. And are there any corrections needed? Or are we ready to make a motion to adopt those minutes? If we are, then Heather can again make the motion, and a seconder. Nicole is seconding that motion. All in favor of accepting last year's minutes, hold up your voter cards. Okay, thank you. That motion is passed as well. Now we come to the let's see. Oh, right, the accepting all the actions of Church Council. So Church Council report is found on pages 14 and 15 of the annual report. So you've had a chance to read that. And at this church as well, we have this tradition of sending out the minutes of every Church Council meeting right after the meeting. And so you've been well apprised of what's been happening with Church Council throughout the year. So we do apparently need this motion to accept the actions of Church Council for the past year as outlined in the printed minutes. So if I could have someone make that motion, because I'm not allowed to make motions. Richard Bauman made the motion, and the seconder would be Kaylee. Kaylee, right. Okay, all in favor of that? And that is passed as well. Okay, and then, right, then we get into the reports in the booklet. So I don't know if we should just see. You can brag here. How many people have read the entire 44 pages of the? Hey, look at that! Good for you, Daryl. And there's a whole bunch of people that have. I just thought that there were some really interesting reports, and that it was very well done. So just so we don't have a totally boring meeting, I was just wondering if anybody had anything really interesting that they found in the reports in the booklet. These are the reports of what all the committees did, all of the various activities. So just a chance to, if there's anything you thought was really great, or that you maybe had a question about in the reports. If not, we can just do the, yes, Barb.
I thought the technology report was really, it was way over my head.
It was impressive, wasn't it? Yes, yeah, that's right. Yeah, we do have a very good tech committee, and I was also, I was impressed with all the things that are going on. So that's very good. Okay, thanks, Barb. Anybody else find something super interesting, like how many T-balls we made, or whatever? There were some, I thought, some fascinating stats in there. Okay, if not, thanks to all the people that wrote those reports, and we do need a formal motion to accept the reports in the annual report. So that would be Mary Fry-Martin made the motion, and seconded by, who wants to with a loud voice? Okay, Dan. Or sorry, it wasn't, Dan's beside you. Doug Draper did the seconding. And all in favor of accepting the reports. Okay, that is done. So now, just have to get back to where we are here. Oh, right, this is the oddest motion of the day. This is where you make the motion to vacate all the, this is just legal stuff, you know, I'm not a lawyer. But you have to actually disband the board of directors, basically, and then re-elect it. So for a really short period of time, like about 2 minutes, we won't have any elected officials. And then Dan will come back up here and he will propose a new slate, and then we're all fine again. So I need a motion, be it resolved that all positions on the current board of directors, which is Church Council of Floradale Mennonite Church, Inc., be declared vacant. Okay, Dan's gonna, because he's gonna fix it. Okay, so Dan made that motion, and seconded by Jared. Jared knows all about law, so he's a good person to second that. All in favor? Okay, so I will call Dan up here, and he can solve this problem that we have nobody officially in those 114 positions right now.
Okay, thank you, Rick. I guess I'd first start off by thanking our committee, the Gift Discernment Committee, Mark Weber, Ashley Elbrecht, and Kaylee Bauman, and myself have been on Gift Discernment this past year. Anita also sits in with us from time to time. It's great to have her insights as part of our Gift Discernment, because there's always those little tidbits that we don't know that Anita might be able to help us out with. So that's been very helpful as well. So thank you to that group for working together this past late winter, early spring here to get things together. And I'd like to start by thanking Rick. I think you're too humble there, Rick. I think it was 7 years rather than 6 years, because we had the pandemic in between, and if you remember, we all were asked just to sort of carry on with our roles because we could not get together and we needed to continue to run our church. So thank you, Rick, very much for your church council chairing over the last 7 years. Rick essentially led us through this pandemic, right? We had to get things done even during that time. We spent the energy and we rewrote our bylaws, which was a great project. It needed to get done. So that's updated. We have all new job descriptions for many of our new roles here at Floradale. So again, we accomplished a lot even during those sort of down times during the pandemic. So very beneficial. Thank you, Rick. And then there's quite a list in this last year that we needed to take a look at. So there's, as commission chairs, there was quite a number of commission chairs, actually all, including myself, that came off of being a commission chair. Not exactly what the gift discernment had planned, but we needed to work through it. So when we started to put things together, we realized, yes, that Nancy wanted to take a break, and she had spent so much wonderful time on community life. Thank you, Nancy. Who else did we have? We had Randy and Bonnie. Bonnie on service and outreach, Randy on facilities and finance. So again, it means quite a changeover on council that we're now going to be going through. But I wanted to thank those folks again, because a lot of times they're working in behind the scenes, just getting things done for the church. And again, we're all beneficiaries of that, being part of this community. So thank you to those folks. So our gift discernment team knew that we needed to sort of start early because we had some big shoes to fill. So we got together early and we started discussing some ideas, but with these significant roles, it meant, well, how do we go about doing this exactly? And so what we soon found out is we started to reach out to the chairs of the commissions, and we're just thrilled with the success that we were having in finding willing people to serve on all 4 of our commission chairs. So again, I'll just mention some names here. So we're thankful. Essentially, we had in Faith and Formation, Leah stepped forward. So she's going to be looking after the Faith and Formation group. Community Life, we have Karen, my wife Karen, and Ashley Albrecht working together, co-chairing that one. Finance and Facilities, we have Mike Litweller. I'm sure Mike's probably online with us here today. He's down in Florida enjoying the last couple weeks of his time down there before he gets home, April 13th. And Jared Martin, that has stepped in as our Service and Outreach Commission Chair. So, excuse me, again, just very grateful that we've been able to assemble those jobs and get them to people that are very capable to carry our church forward here. So thank you to all 4 of those folks that have accepted those roles. So during the same time, I guess, we were trying to figure out for church council chair, who is it that we could put together. And it was during that time that at Gift Discernment, we started to pray and think about, okay, so where are we being led here? And then Gift Discernment had posed me the question. They said, would you let your name stand for council chair? And I said, yeah, I guess I would. I'm sort of in the right place in my life. I'm retired now and I have some extra time. So I said, yeah, I'll let my name stand there. So we did a vote on that one, and that was accepted at our Gift Discernment Committee. So on goes your name, on the slate you go. And then it meant we needed to fill a number of other roles. And again, when I start to look, like worship chair was a big one. Ingrid leaving and Jim leaving, and all of a sudden there's that hole right in our worship team. So one of the first things we said was, well, who would we like to see come on to the worship committee? And luckily, again, we have Josh Weber that stepped forward, Julia Martin that stepped forward. So again, very capable people. Mary was gracious enough to say that she would step in as the interim chair there just to help us along until, we got another pastor in place and started to figure out what our worship could look like again. So again, thank you very much to Jim and Ingrid for the time that they spent leading our worship time together. And thank you to the new folks coming on like Josh and Julia. You'll notice there's a few things on here. There's a couple to be decided, TBDs, or question marks. These were areas, I guess, that as a gift discernment committee, we just thought, we have new commission chairs coming on board. We know that it's going to take them a little bit of time to sort of work things out with their teams. So we didn't want to jump at every last position on the slate and just fill them for the sake of having them filled. We said, let's just allow the commission chairs to take the time that they require, figure out how things are going to work within their commissions, and then we'll look to the gift discernment team or to council to try to figure out how we fill those couple of other items that we'd like to fill. So, yeah, you'll notice there's a couple of those little places on our current slate that we're proposing. I guess the other thing I'd like to mention is we certainly want to thank all the volunteers that not only have accepted new roles or agreed to just continuing their support in certain areas, because there's a lot of that as well that goes on from year to year. So as gift discernment checks with folks, we ask if they're willing to spend another year in that role, and we're very, very gracious for those folks that do that. So with so many new roles on this slate and so many new people in these roles, I guess one thing I would ask for is we need grace. We've heard it many times in the last number of weeks. Grace, kindness, compassion, love, mercy, because it's going to take a bit of time to figure these things out. And it's going to take a bit of time for the new group to put their thoughts and ideas together and get them back to you as a community. So I would ask for those things as we look across the slate and try to make sure that we offer those things to those people that are filling these roles. One other item I'd just like to touch on, if you turn to the back page of your report, page, I guess, what is it, 44? Trying to read it here. You'll notice there that there's a thank you that we're so thrilled because there's a lot of jobs in this church that aren't on the slate, right? There's a lot of roles and jobs that volunteers do here very enthusiastically. They support it throughout the part of the year, and these roles on the slate, even though they're not roles on the slate, we need these roles to make our church really function well. So again, as you take a look, worship leaders, people that tell children's stories, people that play music up here, kids programming, all the things that need to happen during that time. So again, just thank you to all those that dedicate their time, that volunteer, and make our church run the way we like to see it run. I think that's all I have to highlight. So at this point, I can make the motion, I guess, Rick, that we accept the 25-26 slate as it's been brought here.
Right, thanks, Dan. Seconder for that motion? Okay, we've got Barb Draper. Okay, and just questions. And I'd like to also thank the committee. I guess we had Mark Weber, Ashley Albrecht, yourself, and Kaylee Bauman. It might be the toughest committee in the church, or it's definitely one of the more important committees in the church to find all those people. So any last questions for Dan before we call the vote? If not, all in favor of our new slate? Okay, that is, well, I guess I should ask, any opposed? That is carried. Okay, thanks very much. And then the next thing, we have this method of gift discernment looks after all the appointments in the church other than themselves. Like we have to appoint the gift discernment committee as well. So church council does that. And church council also does the staff relations committee. So as I mentioned, Mark Weber and Ashley Albrecht are continuing on the gift discernment committee. Willis Freeman is joining them. So, and then we're still looking for a fourth person. So if somebody from church council asks you whether you want to be the fourth person on gift discernment, then your answer is yes. I'm happy to do that. Staff relations will have 3 members: Lisa Bauman, Mary Martin, and Steve Bauman. So I guess we're at the point here where we would need a motion to accept the appointments of the gift discernment and staff relations committees. Okay, and you're going to have to really shout from back there, Roy. Roy Draper, make the motion. Okay, and a seconder for that? Mary Fry Martin. Okay, any questions or comments? Okay, all in favor? Any opposed? That vote is carried. Okay, so now we're into the financial statements. Remember, I had said that we had 2 jobs, point all the volunteers. We just did that. Second job is talk about the numbers. So there's before we get into that, Randy Martin, Chair of Finance, and Nancy Martin, our Treasurer, were both, of course, extremely involved in this, and I'd like to thank them for their hard work in looking after the finances for the past year. And then we have an accounting company, is it called MAC or MAC? Whatever. MAC Accounting from Elmira. They reviewed our financial records and they gave us a compilation engagement report that you can find on page 34 if you're an accountant type of person, and it was clean, no problems. So if we could just at the back there flip to page 35, which is our balance sheet. Or you can go to page, oh boy, that's not readable, is it? Oh, no, that's page 42, okay. And one more, there we go. Hey, that is very readable, actually. So that's our balance sheet. I just, of course, it's really good. Like, basically what that balance sheet says is that we have a totally bought and paid for building. We don't owe anybody any money, and we have a fair amount of cash on hand. So the balance sheet is definitely a good news story. So now, if we could, you'll have to flip through a few slides to pages 40 and 41, where we get into some of the activity for the year. So most charities use something called fund accounting. So if you're a business person, that's not what you use. Like you're into balance sheets and income statements and a slightly different thing. But in churches, that's what they do. And so on pages, first of all, 40, well, I guess this is, well, that's page 36, isn't it? Or, yeah, it is. Well, that's good enough. I can talk about from page 36. So, no, let's go, if you could just keep flipping until you get to page 40. Okay, you're getting close. There we go. Oh, one back. There, budget fund. Okay, super. So one of the important funds that I just wanted to sort of go over with you is the budget fund. Okay, so I'm just going to go to my page 40 here as well. So last year we carried forward a surplus of $12,149. So that was just sort of a head start. We said, well, just in case we don't have a good year, we want a little bit of money to start with. And then this year we had revenue of $413,000 and expenses of about $369,000. So that created another $43,000-ish of in the business world, you would call it a profit. In the charitable world, a surplus. And so our total fund balance at the end of the year is $55,988. That is the money that just a little bit later in the meeting we're going to be having to decide what to do with it, who we give it to, or whether we keep some of it for next year or so. And in fact, if you want to get a sneak preview of what the recommendation is, it's at the bottom there, where we're going to be later on in the meeting recommending that we keep some of it, we give some of it away, basically. So that would be an example of one of the funds. If we just skip to the next, just one more, right. Can we go to the next slide? Okay, I guess not. Well, anyway, we'll just work off of your written reports. So the Home Improvement Fund is another interesting one. That's the one where we rent our facility, we take that money, and then we can use it to pay various things. So this year, big thank you again to Trinity United Church, our top renter. They provided something in the range of $15,000 or $16,000 of rental income, and so that fund has been very helpful to pay some costs. last year we had this sort of annoying process we had to go through to change all of our bylaws, again because of a requirement of the province of Ontario, and our lawyer charged us $12,598 for that, and so we paid for that out of the rent, basically, that Trinity United. So thank you, Trinity, for paying for our lawyer. Okay, so anyway, if you really are an accountant and you want to go through all of the various funds in the church, they're on page 36, and it sort of shows how they started the year, what happened, and then how they finished off. But I will, actually, maybe what I should do, since we've got Nancy and Randy here, does anyone have any question about any of these funds? You know, the home improvement or budget or whatever funds. There's a list of like literally 20 of them there on page 36. Any questions that anyone would have as to the activity in those funds? Yes, Mary.
One quick question on page 39 under program costs.
Yeah.
Faith formation, $6,000. What is faith formation?
Okay. Faith formation is Sunday school, what used to be called Sunday school, yeah. That's something we're going to be getting into when we actually approve the financial statements. But that's what it is. New name for something old. Any other questions about the activity in any of these funds? Yes, Barb. Sure.
Are some of them being closed out? And the other question is, I'm not sure if I can remember what the benevolence fund is.
Right, okay. The first question, are any being closed out? Last year we closed the sabbatical fund, I remember, because that one was no longer needed. Nancy, is there anything else that's being closed? Women's Fellowship Fund is being closed. And can you just say a bit more what is happening there?
We don't have a women's fellowship committee anymore, and so that's now falling under community life.
Okay.
Community life budget, things that need to be covered.
Right, okay. So the same activities are being covered, it's just through community life rather than Women's Fellowship. So other than that, the Benevolence Fund, yes, that's the one that the elders administer. So that's the only one in the fund in the church where we actually don't know the activity. It's confidential. It's a small amount of money. I believe we put $2,000 every year, and we usually spend a little less than that, and then we top it up every year. Is that right, Randy? Yeah. So that's what it is. The Benevolence Fund is the elders. And maybe if one of the elders could just say, what would be a typical thing, like without saying names or anything, what would be a typical thing that the Benevolence Fund would be used for? Any elder here?
Well, we would have used it for the poinsettias and that.
Right, okay, yep. That would be one. So if you get a poinsettia, I got a poinsettia this year. I'm 70 years old, and so I was really happy to get a poinsettia for the first time in my life. So, okay. So if there aren't any more questions about that, we'll move on to page 37. Like that is what a business person would call our income statement, what a charity calls a statement of operations. And we saw that basically in the, okay, so if you can find your way to page 37, should be kind of back a few, or I can try it. This is what I thought was going to happen, that we weren't going to be able to get to the slides. Can you guys back there get me to the statement of operations or on page 37? Oh, did we go past it? Oh, okay. We got it? No? Oh, we're close. There we are. Okay, good. So this is the good news story where we created this surplus. And I just wanted to, down in the expense section. So in the revenue, $413,000 came in. I guess it wasn't all donations. There was $1,000 of interest that we earned, but the other $412,000 was all donations. So you can see that our main costs are wages. That number, if you want to know the percentage, it's about 61%. 60.8% of our expenses are wages and benefits. 22.4%, or 82,000, is our building occupancy costs. That's just maintaining this building, which is getting older. It was built in 2005, so it's now a 20-year-old building. And then our program costs, things like what Nancy was mentioning, the community life budget, et cetera, that's only 4% of our budget. And then if you combine the local missions and the MCEC donation there, that's 12.8%. So in total, our staff is our biggest expense by far, then our building, and then our missions. So in total, we created this surplus of $43,839. So thanks everybody for your generosity. Do you want to give yourself a hand? There's a lot of churches nowadays that are having problems with their budget, but we did well. So I guess before we approve the financial statements, this is one last chance for any questions about money that was spent this year basically on our budget. We actually don't have any choice here. We have to approve the financial statements, so, but I'd be glad to answer your questions. Yes? Okay, that one I will let Bonnie answer that question. What are some of the local missions things that we give to? Or it's in your report, isn't it? Which page is that on? 25? Okay, so I can answer that question on page 25. So we gave to MCC, Beyond Housing, which used to be Menno Homes, Woolwich Community Services, that would be things like their food bank, Woolwich Counseling, New Life Charity, Shalom Counseling, Hidden Acres, House of Friendship, Ray of Hope. So those were the things that we gave money to this year. Now the interesting thing there, because it's a good question, 10,000 of that money came out of our generosity fund, and the other 7,000 came out of our budget. So we just have different ways of paying for things around here. Okay, that was a good question. Thank you. Any other questions? Okay, if not, the motion. Right, yeah, we've looked at the detail of expenses. I'm just sort of losing track here where we are. Okay, the motion is to accept the financial statements for the year ending December 31st, 2024 as presented. And I think either Nancy or Randy should probably make that motion. Randy? Seconder? How about you, Nancy? Okay. So any last questions about the financial statements? If not, all in favor? And it's not possible to be opposed, but you can, any opposed? You'd be picking a fight with Nancy if you were opposed. Okay. So the next motion is to appoint our auditor for next year, and we continue to be happy with MAC LLP as our auditor. So the motion would be to appoint MAC LLP as our auditor for 2025. Randy will make that motion, and we can have somebody else who would like to second. Who else is sort of an accountant? There we go. You're not an accountant. So Jeff is going to make is going to second the motion. All in favor? Okay. So MAC is our accountant or our auditor again for next year. Okay. Now we get into the allocating our surplus, I think, is the next thing. Yes. So we had that 55,988 surplus. See, most churches don't have to worry about this. They just have a loss, and then they don't have to worry about allocating the loss. They just so we have a surplus to allocate, and the recommendation is that we carry forward 15,000 of it. So that's 15 we're not going to disperse. We're going to keep it as a running start for next year, right? And then we're going to give 25,000 to MCEC. MCEC is actually getting into financial trouble. I don't know if any of you saw the note this week, but they used to have the sabbatical fund that they gave they covered something like 35% of a pastor's sabbatical fund. They just sent out a note that we don't have any more money and we're not going to do it anymore. which is interesting. So that would just be a sign that MCEC is starting to get in some, financial trouble. So our wise finance committee has decided to give them $25,000, and then the remainder, $15,988, is going to be transferred to the facility fund, which is kind of repairs of the church building. And what, Randy, did you have in mind as an eventual use for that? The roof? Yeah. Right, yeah. And that would be like 100,000 or some big number. $200,000, yeah. So this is a starting point to put some money into that fund. So that is the recommendation. So this is interesting. Let's open the, well, I guess I'm supposed to get a motion and second and then talk about it. So who would like to make the motion to allocate our surplus as I just stated, the 15,000 carried forward, 25,000 to MCEC, 15,988 to the facility fund. Who would like to make that motion? So Mary Fry Martin, and a seconder. Okay, we got Norma Bauman as a seconder. Okay, so now we have a chance to talk about that. What are your thoughts on this recommendation? Does silence mean that we kind of like it? Sounds like we do. Okay, well then we will vote on the motion to distribute our surplus as stated in the motion. All in favor? Any opposed? Okay, so that is carried. So, now we're into the looking forward, the budget for next year. And just got to get myself organized here. So this is all on page 39. Is the important page for our budget. And if you guys can get to something that is called Schedule A budget, that would be really helpful. Find something that's called Schedule A budget. If not, we'll have to just use page 39 in the package. Okay, good. So this is just a more detailed, before we had looked at the middle column, the actual expenses. Remember on our income statement were $369,393. So the middle column we've already talked about. That's last year's actual expenses. And then if you go to the far right-hand column where it says 2025 proposed, that's what we're planning on spending in the next year. And there's not a whole lot of action there. Like it's a slight increase, 5.84%, which is pretty much an inflationary sort of increase. I went over all the numbers. It's just there's not too much more than some just tiny increases. Like unfortunately, there's this thing called inflation, and costs usually go up a little bit. But would there be anything on that list next year that's noteworthy? Randy, it didn't seem like there was much jumping out at me.
Well, it just depends when we get our next full-time pastor. We could have some savings in the wages there.
True enough, yeah. We're going to for sure have some savings there. It depends what happens with Steve Cox. If Steve Cox is affirmed as our next pastor, there will be a gap there between when we finish, paying Jim versus when we start paying Steve. So there would be, you're right, Randy, there most likely be a savings there of $10,000, something like that. Yeah. Any questions about the budget? Again, other than wages, it's largely looking after the building. Like I think the interesting part there, like the things that we can sort of control a little bit, are building occupancy costs, but again, fuel, hydro, etc., they just cost what they cost. So yes, Cliff Bauman.
Question under repairs and miscellaneous.
Yes.
We had actual of 18, but now you're proposing only 15,000.
Right, okay. Well, again, it's good Randy's here, so could you answer Cliff's question?
Well, we spent approximately $5,000 on our weeping bed system this year again. It's 20 years old, and there's a lot of pumps in our system, so we replaced, I think, pretty well every pump this year. And hopefully next year it won't be as high. And if we do run over it there, we usually have savings in somewhere else in the budget, right? If we make everything right to the max, then it makes quite a high budget, right?
Right. That was a good question. Any other questions about our expenses? And we could also talk about the revenue side, like which is donations, basically. I think I'll just mention there was an interesting chart on page 28. I don't think we can bring that up here, but it just showed the number of giving units in the church, and that was a really good news story. We, as of last year in 2023, we had 87 giving units. Giving units, either an individual person or a couple who work together or combined in their giving. But that 87 went up to 98 this year, so we added an extra 11 giving units, and I noticed, if I remember correctly, the amount last year that we would have needed per giving unit was $4,200, and now it's down to $4,000. So the fact that there's more and more people getting involved is really helping on the revenue side. So yeah, so I guess we're actually going to be done so fast. The food's not going to be ready for us here if we don't have more to talk about. Yes.
Faith formation.
Yeah.
With Mary. So children's programming, right, Nancy, is included in that. Anything else?
Things like your Rejoice magazines and that sort of stuff.
Falls into what we call faith formation. Good question.
Yep. Yes, Barb.
Can I ask a question about, this is under wages and benefits?
Yes.
There's a conference retirement pension. How does that work?
Well, does Nancy know the answer?
She does.
She does. Okay, good. This is great. I just love it. What if Nancy and Randy weren't here? I'd be in big trouble.
So the church pays 5% of our staff salaries to Mennonite Church Canada, as long as the staff member also matches the 5%. So
Okay.
in total, each staff member is getting 10% of their salary into a pension fund every year, 5% given by the church, 5% given by them.
So Nancy, is that like an RSP then? Like, it's not. It's an actual pension. And when they get the pension money out, is it sort of like a defined benefit? They get so much, oops, sorry.
They don't call it an RSP, they call it pension.
Yeah.
Okay. That'd be interesting. Jim, do you know what the deal is? What do you get when you retire? Right. Okay, so it does act like an RSP-ish thing, like it.
It does, actually.
Yeah.
I had the similar thing because I work for Canadian Mennonite.
Oh, right. Yes.
And, yeah, I turned it into a RIF.
Right. So all this money, this 5% plus 5% over the years, it's got your name on it basically, and then you get to take it back as a, yeah. Okay. Oh, that's a good answer. Yes. Let's go, Kaylee first.
I just have a question about the earlier nurse, sorry.
Yeah.
In our budget, that's not stated, like in our proposed budget. I was just wondering where it belongs.
Oh, just say that again so I understand.
So like our roof repair, like, Eddie is kind of came on that too, so.
Right.
I was just curious where that sits in our budget.
Right. Yeah, on page 36, there would be just one line where it shows the facility fund, and it shows that it started the year at $99,255, and then earned a bit of interest, I guess, and had a few expenses, $5,375, ended up at 106. But now we just approved that another 15 is going to go into it, so it's going to be at about 122. Is that right, Randy? Like it'll be at 122. So you're halfway to paying for your roof, or more than that.
Expenses. The $5,375 was the pastor's sabbatical fund we put into there.
Oh, okay. Right. Yep, that's right. When we wound up the pastor sabbatical fund, we put that in there. So so that would be your answer. So it's not really in the budget. It's just waiting to be used, like it's sitting in a fund. Yeah. Mary?
So I'm speaking from the worship committee, and now this is maybe not an issue because this year we had a really good year. In the past, we always passed offering plates and had an offering. And then COVID sort of, we didn't want to pass plates,
Right.
touching. And then everybody kind of got on to e-transfers. So the thing of it is, if you pass an offering plate, it can become awkward if the offering plates are empty because
Yes.
plus, you know, we like the fact that we're not putting that emphasis on come to our church and please give us your money. But, I mean, what do the financial people think about this, and what do people think about this, that we're not passing an offering plate anymore? The one concern is, what are we teaching our children? You know, when do they learn that we are giving money to the church? And, you know, I mean, does it have a bearing that we don't have the offering plate anymore on our giving?
Yeah, those are all good questions, and we have talked at church council about them. I don't think there's a right and wrong answer, Mary, on that. I've definitely heard the argument about it. It shows kids, but what does it show? Like, that they'd really have to be, you know, it would have to be explained to them. Well, the vast majority of people here are doing a transfer, and you know, like it would be a tricky message to explain to kids as to why the offering plate is mostly empty and some people put some in and all that. So, yes, Heather.
We did have some discussions that it happens occasionally at the discretion of the worship committee.
Right, that's right. I remember that. Yeah. So it's not wrong. The other thing, which is just true, I think, that nowadays everybody doesn't come to every service. Like back when I was a kid, like you know, you'd never miss the church service. It was just part of a routine. You would now have, I would say that if a person is showing up about 1 out of every 2 services, or maybe 1 out of every 4, you say, oh, that's pretty good. You know, I know some of you are here maybe every week. So that's one of the things. That's maybe not a good reason, because I suppose the weeks you show up, you'd make your offering. But no, let's say that you know, Dan, that could be something for the next church council to again think about, the pros and cons, or think. Probably the way I would approach that is think about the good things about passing an offering plate. And are there ways of replicating that some other way? You know, or is the offering plate their best way? Alan? Yeah.
With the plates at COVID time,
Yeah.
but we still kept on the offertory prayer.
Oh, an offertory prayer.
Yes.
Hey, now there's an idea.
As we
Yeah.
listen to online services, that's what a number of churches do. They still recognize an offering.
Yeah.
Even though a
Right,
plate is-
yeah. Yeah, because one thing that I haven't been here that long. I guess Nancy and I started coming in 2009. And so the one thing we were really surprised about at this church is that money is never talked about, virtually, ever. Like, you know, at the very end of the year, Randy might put an announcement or 2 in the bulletin saying, well, it's time that we top up the budget or whatever. But it's odd to me that money is not a topic here. And yet somehow the budget, you know, is met every year with a surplus. So we've got a good thing going, but I would still say that would actually, that might be a good idea, Alan. Like I kind of like that you do talk about money, just in a thankful sort of way. That's basically what they're saying. They're thanking people or acknowledging that the support of people, sort of. Yeah.
Tithing and offering is a part of worship.
Right. Yeah. For sure. Yeah. That's right. It's part of worship, and you would just remind people every week of that. Good idea. Yes, Daryl.
Quite a bit of time this morning has been spent on our church expenses.
Right.
On as it relates to our congregation.
Right.
And outreach and upkeep
Yep.
and pastoral, you know, that
Right.
sort of thing.
Yep.
But a significant part of our church support goes to a broader mission in the world
Yep.
through MCEC.
Yep.
And we talk about MCEC, but we really don't spend much time talking about that mission and
Right.
our
Yep.
involvement in
Yeah.
the worldwide mission
No,
of the
no,
church.
that's a good point, Daryl. And did you notice there was a really quite long report from MCEC on pages 30 and 31, mainly on page 30, that talked about all the things that MCEC does. But no, I feel good. Like one thing I should have mentioned in the budget is that we are budgeting an extra $10,000 for MCEC next year, going up from 40 to 50. And in addition, they're getting this 25 of our surplus.
I'm not questioning
Yeah.
the involvement. I'm thinking that we don't spend very much time talking about the involvement of
Yep.
MCEC
Right.
in the broader ministry of the church.
Yeah. Well, hey, Anita, maybe this is an idea. When you're fending for yourself between Jim and the next pastor, you could have MCEC in here for one Sunday and talk about what they do. Would be an idea. Yeah. No, those are all good points. Yes, Jeff.
I'm curious, the percentage of people who still deposit their money at the back of the church and what the percentage is who do
Yeah.
direct transfer.
That would either be a maybe Norma or Nancy question. I don't know. Any feel for that, Norma? Like a pretty small amount, or Norma does accounting of offerings.
Just a rough percentage.
Yeah.
I would say that at least 80 to 85% of people give online.
Yeah. So there's still 15.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Well, if there aren't any more, yes, another question, Glenn.
It was talked about that eventually we need to do something to make sure that Mother Nature doesn't leak down on us. We can do something
Right.
to do. Is there, it'll be several thousands and thousands of dollars. Is there some kind of a plan to then look after that?
Yes, yeah, for sure, and that's where that facilities fund, with this extra 16,000 or so that we put in, that will be at about $122,000, which would be a good chunk of the roof project. But then whoever's finance at that time, like Randy's retiring from that position, would have to decide, do we have enough money? Can the budget kind of handle it, or would we have to sort of ask for a special offering? Like in some places, I know, like I'm on the board at Chesley Lake, and we had a disaster there where we needed to come up with some money, and we had to assess all the members. We had to say, well, everybody had to pay $1,000 or whatever towards the. So that's unclear. Fortunately, I don't have to worry about that. Randy doesn't have to worry about that. But when the roof finally does become a problem, it would either there'd only be two methods. You'd have to either take the facilities fund plus some amount from budget, or you'd have to, there'd be three. You could borrow money. Yeah, you could.
Line of credits.
Yeah, that's right. That's what I was going to say. That's the third option. You can borrow. You can either pay cash, you can borrow, or you can kind of ask for an assessment to pay for it. Yeah. Does that answer your question, Glenn? Those are the options, I think, yeah.
On the statement of operation.
Yes.
Unreceipted donation.
Yeah, that one.
23 was 10,000 and.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you about a nice secret that you could use. I think the answer there is Abundance Canada, which used to be Mennonite Foundation. And there are some people that give their money to Abundance Canada and then tell Abundance Canada to disperse it to, so much goes to Floradale Mennonite Church, so much goes to wherever. And I think that's that is the answer. That money is coming indirectly through us, two steps kind of a thing. The person is first putting the money into Abundance Canada and then telling Abundance Canada to send it to Floradale.
And Abundance Canada is a charitable organization, so that's where they get their receipt.
Correct. Yeah, I should have mentioned that. So say you give $5,000 to Abundance Canada, they would give you a receipt for that. So when Abundance Canada then gives it to the church, they don't get or need a receipt. And so it's an unreceipted donation. So finally, a question that I could answer. Okay. So we are getting moderately close to our potluck sort of time. So I think I'm going to just ask somebody to make a motion to accept the 2025 budget. Who would like to do that? Okay, Richard Bauman. Richard forgot to say Richard Bauman. Who would like to proudly say their name? Roy Draper is going to second the motion. Last chance for questions about the 2025 budget. All in favor? Any opposed? That is carried. Okay. Then we have one little thing, but this could actually maybe have some sort of interesting conversation. So the last thing we have to do is the generosity fund, I believe. Yes, that is the last. So how many people know what the generosity fund is? Do you have a good feel? Okay, so people have a good feel for what that is. It originated because we had several bequests to the church, and we didn't really know where to put them, so we put them into this fund where I remember the rules. I think I was involved in writing them up. Like we have our vision statement here, loving God, loving our neighbor. And so when you get a allocation out of the generosity fund, it has to be doing one of those two things. It's got to be something to do with loving God or something to do with loving our neighbor. So every year we have this little budget. It's on page 40. Yeah, hey, good. Hey, good move there, Roy. You anticipated well. So anyway, we don't have much money left in the generosity fund. It was several $100,000 at one point in time. I'm just going to page 40 here. So it started the year with almost $100,000. We had a donation of $10,000. Oh, there, Abundance Canada. Like the church actually uses Abundance Canada as our bank, kind of. They pay us interest on some of our funds. So we had $11,210 come in, and then we paid out $10,000 to the church in Ethiopia, the MK Seminary, and then Service and Outreach Commission. Remember, we were talking Bonnie's commission. They got $7,000 from the budget and $10,000 from the generosity fund to make up their $17,000 of disbursements. So at the end of the year, it's down to $91,000. And what happens is that people make requests for that. Randy receives requests, and then their committee decides who should be getting the money. It goes to church council, it gets approved, and then it comes here for your approval. So the plan for this year is to make a $10,000 donation to Shalom Worship and Healing Center. Okay, that's a startup, kind of newer church that is working with First Mennonite Church in Kitchener. I think they're basically paying for half the church. Yeah, they're co-owning the church, and then they're splitting the worship time in some sort of way. So this is just our help in getting a new church started. And then the other one is this $10,000, which goes to, is it Jared's commission now? Yeah, Jared's going to be the new person that's going to be allocating that $10,000 plus the $7,000 or so that we have in the budget. So that is the plan for the generosity fund. So again, the procedure should be we make a motion, second it, and then talk about it. So who would like to make the motion to allocate the money from the generosity fund in this way? Okay, Daryl. And seconder, Mary Fry-Martin. Okay, so we have a motion on the floor. Any discussion about the recommendation? 10 to this new church, 10 to the Service and Outreach Commission. Okay, if not, then I will call for a vote. All in favor? Any opposed? Okay, thank you. So we're pretty much to the end of the meeting, other than if there is any new business. Again, yes, Randy.
Rick, I'd just like to make one comment.
Sure.
The 10,000 out of the generosity fund to the service and outreach. We just did that the last 2 years because 2 or 3 years ago our budget was just so met. We didn't have much of a surplus.
Mm-hmm.
So going forward now, if we're going to have a bigger surplus, we could go back to putting that in the budget line.
I think that's a great idea. Like, this is a bit of a crutch that we don't really need anymore.
Right.
And that's an excellent idea that, Dan, maybe you can take note of that too, that this should possibly be the last year that we're taking 10 out of the generosity fund when we really don't necessarily need it. Good point. Any other business? This is where we get into suggestions or just comments. Yes, Ross?
Just a reminder, the worship committee puts a lot of work into planning the service, and I'd like people to get in by 10:30. There's lots of time to visit afterwards, and it's disruptive when you come in late or stand out there chatting. If you go to the theater, you have to be in by starting time or you get locked out.
Right.
You don't have to do that.
Yeah, good point. Even a hockey game they don't like when you come in the middle of it. Yeah, no, that's good point. I'd be interested in some of our newer people that have just joined us. You would have suggestions, like you would say, wow, they really do that in a weird way. That's not the way we used to we're used to it. So any ideas from anybody as to how we could do things better? Well, you can think about that, but well, maybe we will then, if there isn't anything real burning here. How are we doing? Okay, 12:16, so we're good. I'll just want to make a couple comments. I was going to say, oh yes, Kaylee. Yes. Right. Right. Yeah, that everyone has skills, and your skills might be different than the person that was doing the job before. And it is nice the way we rotate people through and get all sorts of different ideas, different skills, for sure. That's a good point, Kaylee. Now, I'd just like to say that, and I was going to say it was 6 years, but, oh, yes, Leon.
I'm not a new person.
Okay.
But I wanted to acknowledge the new people. And I know it's been a transition for many of you. And I hope that's gone well. I'm glad that you've come to us whole. And I think a lot of what we are going to be able to accomplish in 2025 and future years is because of you new people. So thank you. That's all I want to say.
Yeah, I totally agree, and I think it's something that we have to keep working on as a church, being as welcoming as we can. There's a lot of churches that are doing very badly these days. Our church seems to be doing well, and we have to welcome newcomers, embrace them. Jim, I think you had a nice sermon back there, a little warning that don't get the chairs like this, get the chairs, And so I think that's important for us to remember. Good point for sure. So, okay. So just finishing up the meeting, it's been an honor serving as church council chair. I was going to say for the last 6 years, but I guess it was 7 years. I've learned a great deal about the programs of the church. I'm really thankful for the volunteers, for the staff, for our donors, and just for the activity level of our congregation. Everybody comes out to things, like the guys' night out. I don't know, how many people do we have coming out, Richard? Like 38 people, yeah, there you go. Guys like food, I guess. But just in general, when we plan activities, people show up, and so that level of energy and activity is really appreciated. I definitely want to thank Jim and Ingrid for all that you've brought to the church, and wish you really well for whatever is in your future plans. And I'd like to give a special thank you to Heather Utley. She's been the secretary of church council, and she's done a really difficult job very well, I think. And now it's time to pass the role to Dan Bender for next year, and I wish him well. I wish our church well. And that's all we have. So we've done a marvelous job here of getting the meeting done in time. So I just need one more motion, and that's to adjourn the meeting. Nicole is ready to adjourn the meeting, and Mary Martin will second it, and we're all in favor of course. Thanks very much. So in about 5 minutes or whatever, we will start the potluck in the church. Now, I think Anita is going to ask the blessing, I believe.
So this year and last year, we did a bit of a different format for our annual general meeting and our worship, and we've combined it together. So we want to just wrap up on a worship note today. First of all, I did want to say thank you to Rick for your excellent leadership to Floradale Mennonite Church. And Nancy, I know you'll continue in your role, and Dan, we're looking forward to your leadership as well. I also want to thank each person who had a role in today's service, and those caring for the children, those preparing our potluck. Each and every one of us is part of this body of Christ, and together we are a wonderful family. As we draw this part of our gathering to an end, I would invite you to go to the back and gather in a circle or a semicircle, and we want to sing together, Bind Us Together. We'll sing the refrain twice, then we'll say the Lord's Prayer together, and we'll end with a table grace, praise God from whom all blessings flow. Thank you for joining us today and for staying for the potluck. Let's end on a worship note together.